So this episode of Kimetsu no Yaiba introduces a new character, Zen. Zenitsu, I think that's how you say his name. Regardless, it's easier to say Zen. The character is introduced this week, and my first impressions of the character, as like I said on social media, Twitter, he is very intense. As a character, he really has the whole Beetlejuice thing going on from ReZero. Like, if you ever watched ReZero and you know who Beetlejuice is, then I think you guys are gonna know where I'm going. Like, you know, my brain trembles and stuff. It's definitely that. Like, his overall just way of expressing himself is so over the top. I could see many getting annoyed with the character. But before I get into that, though, let's just talk about the character. So when it comes to shonen, cowards are a theme. You usually see a character like Zen in shonen. Like, let's look at examples. We have Usopp. We have, you know, Kid Gohan. We have Hercule, also from Dragon Ball. And, I mean, there is countless other coward characters that have been used throughout shonen and other anime and manga. It is something that is very common. However, there is one thing about these characters that are really important. And that is, these characters are supposed to ground the series in reality. Because at the end of the day, let's look at it. These characters that are going up against these monsters, like let's look at Tanjiro. He is someone that's going up against crazy monsters, demons, etc. Or if we look at Usopp's series where he's in One Piece, you know, you have it where Luffy, Zoro, and all of them, they're up against like monsters with these insane powers. And when you look at, let's say, something like Dragon Ball, like Kid Gohan when he was a kid, he was just scared because, you know, he wasn't really a fighter. You know, that wasn't him as a character, and he was a little boy. And so, cowardly characters are supposed to ground the series in reality. Like, show us from the perspective of someone that's basically us. Because most of the time people watch these type of series or read these type of series is because we want to see something different. We want to see something that isn't like the real world. Like, we don't want to see something that is like the standard that we're used to, okay? We want something that's very unique that makes us do, whoa, this is crazy and all that. That's basically why we love shonen, or different anime, manga, and just literature, movies, and stuff. It's the big example. And the reason why people get very annoyed with characters, let's say, like Gohan, Hercule, Usopp, or, you know, now Zen in this series, is because they're so realistic, even if they are a little bit intense or over the top, they remind us of our weaker selves, that we can never be what these monsters are in their respective series. And so, I think that's one of the examples at why people get annoyed by the character. However, if there is one thing we know when it comes to the cowardly character archetype, is that they usually have their moments to where they step up and get the job done. For instance, let's look at the other cowards that I've already mentioned in this video. Let's look at Usopp. Usopp from One Piece is honestly the most human character throughout the entirety of One Piece. He is someone that is literally side by side with absolute monsters in One Piece. But he continues down the path with them. Because, at the end of the day, even if he is a coward and he wants to run away, when he needs to get something done, he will get something done. He sucks it up and he's like, I have to do this or no one else will. But he also reminds us of how human we really are. And at the same time, even if we're human, there's some things that maybe we can do, even if we can't go to the extreme and, let's say, fight someone that has the power to split the earth in two. And that's the point of the type of character, like Usopp. And let's look at, let's say, someone like Gohan. Gohan was a character, like a boy, thrown into a situation that, honestly, he shouldn't have been there. He was a young boy, like only 5, 4, whatever. He was super young. He honestly should never have been in as many fights as he was in at such an early age. And typically, people tend to forget about that while watching Dragon Ball Z, is that Gohan is not Goku. Gohan is not Kid Goku. Gohan was a little boy that had a mother and had somewhat of a father, and, you know, he just was living a normal life. He wasn't really a fighter. And imagine if you were at the age of Gohan thrown in there up against a powerful opponent that can literally blow up cities. That's the point here, is that Gohan was never like that. And so his character acting like that made perfect sense. But like I said, people tend to forget that. Hercule is another good example of a different depiction of a coward. He is someone that's obviously, in standard human terms, he is strong. but he knows his limitations. He's very aware of what he can or cannot do. And because of that, he knows when he needs to kind of get away from the danger. However, at the same time, he knows when he must do something. Like his character development at the end of Dragon Ball Z, where he stood up and basically saved everyone. He saved the world, he saved Goku, Vegeta, and all of them when he managed to help out Buu. And, you know, get Buu on their side. He was someone that was really important to that arc. And so, cowardly characters, regardless if they're annoying or not, they typically do have their moments where they shine, they stand up. And the main point I'm getting at is I feel like this character, Zen, is probably going to be an example of that. He's going to be a character that is very weak, very annoying, but at the same time, he's going to be someone that shines. Like, he's going to go through a lot of development. Because usually when it comes to characters like this, they go through a lot of character development. They change as people. And sometimes they're the ones that become the most serious as the story progresses, where they're absolute monsters because they put all their effort into really getting stronger. And like I said, Gohan is a perfect example of that. And so, seeing Zen, he may be obnoxious, he may be over the top, he may be intense, he may be a coward, but I feel like at the end of the day, he's probably going to be the character that's going to become a fan favorite to all fans of Kimetsu no Yaiba, just because of probably the character development he can potentially get. Because these characters have a lot of room to grow, and that's what makes us grow attached to these said characters, their struggles to overcome their weakness. So, yeah, Zen. I like him as a character. Like I said, intense, but he is a enjoyable character. But I want to get into Tanjiro for a second, because Tanjiro is something that I think not many are probably going to talk about when it comes to this episode, or many are going to quickly overlook what happened within this episode. Tanjiro had someone die in his arms in this episode, and nobody's probably talking about this, which is kind of shocking to me. Because it's very significant, especially for a shonen series like this, especially for a main character to have something like that done. It's something I think that is very important. Because let's look at the, the demographic of shonen, what it's about, or the MCs of shonen, okay? Most MCs don't want to see a person die. There is death in respective series, but overall MCs don't want a character to die. And most of the time, the author usually avoids death of a character, even bystanders dying right next to the main hero. For instance, Tanjiro. And seeing how a character, even if we didn't know the character, and we had no attachment to him, and personally I'm not sad, but the character's death is very significant for Tanjiro, our character, because it lets us see his emotions for death. How he feels about when people die around him. He did show sadness. He did mourn the loss of the dude's death, and he's like, I'm sorry, I will bury you when this is over. Okay, he was showing the proper emotion, at least in that regard. However, he was someone that showed a very different air. He showed an air of maturity. He was someone that was able to push aside his emotions and think about what must be done. And that's something you don't normally see in a character, especially in a shonen. It's very scary. It goes back to what I said about Tanjiro's character at the beginning of the story, and how he reminded me a lot of Gon. See, the reason why I was reminded of Gon from Hunter x Hunter when it came to Tanjiro in the first episode was that he was willing to die just to try to stop the dude that was going to kill Nezuko. And he didn't know if it was going to succeed, but he literally threw his life out there. He threw himself on the chopping block. He didn't care. And he didn't know that person well enough if he was going to spare him. He did it regardless because he just wanted to save Nezuko, which meant that he had no care for his life at all. His life literally had no value. And let's look at what he said within this episode. He even stated in this episode, the latest, that Nezuko is more important than his own life. Which is sweet that he says that, but I feel like there's darker meaning there. There's definitely a dark, ominous feeling to that compared to what you would normally get. Because in certain circumstances, it might seem sweet, but the message behind it, what we have seen from this episode, but also the first episode, it weighs a lot more than that, than just simple little sweet words. So because of that, Tanjiro is definitely not normal in the head. He witnessed his family die. He saw them all, which automatically is going to mess you up. And his situation's already messed up to begin with. But seeing how he was able to quickly just shove aside his emotions like that for the death of someone and then focus on what he needs to do is scary, especially for a boy his age. A boy his age should not be able to overcome death that quickly. Like, he was sad, but he didn't dwell upon it. It didn't fully affect him to where it just ruined him where he couldn't fight. Which, once again, Demon Slayers need to be able to deal with that, yes. But once again, it's still not normal, especially for someone his age. And which makes it to where Zen as a character stands out so much more throughout this episode. He is a character that is realistic. He is someone that was thrown into demon slaying kind of like against his will. He said he had debts to pay or whatever, and because of that, he just eventually had to take place in the exam, which he obviously has potential because of how he made it this far, but it doesn't change the fact, though, that him crying and being sad, scared, etc. is realistic. It fits with his age. So Tanjiro is honestly the weird one. He's the one that doesn't make much sense at all. So like I said, it's creepy. I think Tanjiro as a character is very creepy, especially after this episode, and I do wonder if the writer will go somewhere with that. I hope it's not just like little small things added and it's not going to go anywhere, because writers do that sometimes, but I do hope it does have something very significant for the plot, because it feels like it's too big a part of his character for that to just be, you know, kind of swept under the rug. But okay, with all that out of the way, though, let's talk about the enemy. So the enemy of this arc we're getting into, this demon, is able to basically control the entire house, his den, in any way he wants. Like, he's able to literally restructure the rooms, like make it to where like let's say there's 6 rooms, okay, and they all are connected with each an individual door, and there's only one door that can go outside of the house out of these 6 rooms. He's able to rearrange these rooms, spin them, rotate them, and all that like a Rubik's Cube in any way he wants. It's honestly a very scary power, because he theoretically, depending if he can hide himself well enough, he could keep someone permanently trapped inside of his den, and you'll never be able to get out. You would starve to death before you're able to do anything. So, that power is strong, definitely for being able to trap people inside. The question was how was that dude that jumped outside the window able to get out? Was he able to outsmart the demon, or did something else actually happen? Regardless, though, I do like the demon's power, and I do wonder how Tanjiro and all the other characters are going to be able to fight him, because it's not something you can necessarily use with sense of smell. That's something that is clear as day. You're going to need to be able to know what is behind each door. And I feel like Zen is going to play a major part of this, because he's someone that's able to actually hear really well, while Tanjiro is able to actually have a good sense of smell. They're very different in their own ways, and I think that's where Zen actually excels at, and it's obvious that the demon, with the way the rooms shift, he has to hit like the drums on his chest to be able to rotate. So I feel like maybe a certain sound effect or beat will be able to position the room in a certain way, and so if you can listen in on the sound, you'll be able to counter the demon's movements. I think that's probably what's happening. But overall, it's a pretty good episode. Like, this is a really good episode of Kimetsu no Yaiba, and I'm excited to see where the story's going to go, because, I mean, there's so much potential here. Zen as a character is fascinating, Tanjiro as a character is fascinating, and I want to know exactly who the boarhead guy is as well. I mean, we know for a fact that he is, he was in the final selection, but the question is, who really is he? Like, you know, like, who? Like, is he, you know, someone with good intentions? Is he someone with bad intentions? Because I'm willing to bet maybe one of the Demon Slayers are probably going to have some bad intentions when it comes to the final selection. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.